Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Got another video here from Jago Hazard. This is finding the oldest bridge in London. So I'm excited to check this out. As you know, I love history and I love learning your all's history. Um, I will link this video in the description along with a link over to Patreon and a link of how you can support the channel here on YouTube. On Patreon, I have been watching Friday Night Dinner. Only posted so far one episode here on YouTube, but I've done several over there and I currently have them free. So if you haven't done so and you're interested in checking that out, jump over there through the link in the description and sign up. Like I said, everything's free right now. As far as that show goes, there's a bunch of other free stuff over there too that is not available here on YouTube. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump into this.
If you know your London history, you know that the oldest river crossing in London is at London Bridge. When the Romans first founded London, sometime in the mid-1st century, they built a bridge here as part of the trading settlement they founded. This was about the limit of tide for the Thames, so it was a pretty good place to build a port, and the bridge was part of the route to the then much more important town of Colchester. Now you may have noticed that I said oldest river crossing rather than oldest bridge. Hold on to that thought. Anyway, the reason I used that phrase is because, as you can probably tell, this is not the original bridge. To be honest, we don't know how many versions of London Bridge there have been. In 1209, the bridge commonly known as Old London Bridge was built, which looked like this. It lasted until 1831, and frankly it seems to have been a bit of a chaotic structure. Not only was it the only bridge in London, but it included at various times water wheels, shops, houses, a chapel dedicated to St. Thomas Becket, and a display of traitors' actual heads. It was rebuilt several times over the centuries, but by the end of the 18th century it was clear that it was not up to the job. It was replaced by a new bridge designed by John Rennie, which opened in 1831 just upstream of the old bridge. This was a massive improvement on the old bridge, but eventually it too would prove inadequate for the weight of traffic using it. In a controversial move, it was sold to oil baron Robin McCulloch, who had it taken apart and reassembled in Lake Havasu, Arizona. I have heard people complain about this, but since the options were sell it or...
I think I've watched another video about that particular bridge because they were talking about how one of the London bridges were in the US now. That's really interesting. Can you imagine how much money you would have to just like buy a bridge and bring it on over? Crazy.
Destroy it? I think this is fair enough. The modern bridge opened in 1973 to a design by Lord Holford, and that's what you see today. Now, for obvious reasons, while this is the oldest crossing point, approximately, you can't call this the oldest bridge in London. To find that, we're going to have to go upriver. For centuries, London Bridge was the only bridge over the Thames in the whole of London, so as you might imagine, it would get pretty crowded. London's watermen were an essential part of the city's economy, ferrying people back and forth across the Thames. I should also give an honourable mention to Westminster, where, before the Romans arrived, it was possible to ford the Thames, but that went once the port was built. The next bridge across the Thames wasn't even in London. It was at Kingston. Now that is very much a suburb of London today, but until basically the 20th century, it was a market town firmly outside of the city. It had a pretty notable history in itself. The name Kingston is very
cool.
literal, being as it was the place where...
That's so neat. That is really pretty.
No fewer than 7 of the Saxon kings were crowned atop the coronation stone. Again, the current Kingston Bridge is not the original. We don't know when the original Kingston Bridge was built. There are 2 accounts. One says it was built sometime around the 10th century, another that it came along in the late 12th century. I wonder if both are correct and there was an older bridge that was replaced. But I'm no archaeologist or bridge guy, so I can't say for sure. What I can say is that the foundations of the old bridge still exist. They're preserved in the Undercroft in Kingston. This bridge was a little to the north of the present bridge and consisted of a timber structure mounted on top of stone foundations. The site of the old bridge is very easy to spot. It's marked on the Kingston side by this cobbled path. Over on the other side, the Hampton Wick side, the approach road is still very much in situ. The current bridge opened in 1828 to a design by Edward Lappage, so the old one lasted, well, depending how old you think it is, 600 or 700 years.
Wow.
When this part of the riverside was being redeveloped in the 80s, these ruins were discovered, which rather held up the building plans. They were moved to what's now the Fusebox Arts Centre, under John Lewis. Which isn't the original site, but it's a heck of a lot easier to get to than Lake Havasu. Also preserved here is the undercroft of a medieval merchant's house, which would have been a store for goods back in the day. Kind of the medieval equivalent of a warehouse, and it illustrates Kingston's importance as a trading centre. Now, of course, there are a lot of asterisks next to all this. We can't know exactly how old the bridge is, which casts a question mark over whether it truly is the oldest bridge in London. And it's not exactly a bridge anymore, is it? I mean, you can't exactly cross it. Fortunately for you, me, and this channel's travel budget,
Euro's history is so interesting. Like, it goes back so much further than ours does. And I know there were obviously people here. There were Native Americans. I know there are archaeologists that have found stuff from like the Knights Templar here that they think think things go back, way further than we're aware of. It's just not not really documented. But I know there was an archaeology show that I used to watch that had this archaeologist, Scott something, and that's what he would go around following Knights of Templar stuff, and there were all these like underground crazy things that are in the US that like just nobody really knows about or talks about. It's interesting.
the oldest bridge in London that's still in use is just a short walk upriver. We don't even have to leave Kingston. This is the Clattern Bridge.
It's
it was
gorgeous.
built around 1170.
That's gorgeous with the Tudor houses around it.
5, which makes it either newer or older than the old Kingston Bridge, depending which version of history you go with. Actually, I'm a little confused as to when this was built. The plaque says 1293. Historic England says late 12th century. I'm going with the earlier date because I want to. Over the years, it's been known as the Clattern Bridge and the Clattering Bridge, likely due to the sound of horses crossing it. It crosses the river Hogsmill, no relation to the Hogsmill School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, and replaced an earlier bridge. The bridge has been widened twice, first in the 18th century and then in the 19th century. So while one side is very medieval looking, the other is not. Until the mid-18th century, it was the site of a ducking stool where people, usually women, were ducked in the river for the crime of being noisy and argumentative. This was in the days before the block button was invented. The bridge is now Grade 1 listed and is still very much in use, which makes it the oldest bridge in London. I feel like I should also give at least a brief mention to Richmond Bridge, which lies slightly downriver. This was built in 1777 to the design of James Payne and Kenton Cowse. It's still essentially the same structure, so if you're looking for the oldest bridge across the Thames in London, this is your lad. Since then, there have been many other bridges built across the Thames, not to mention several tunnels built under it. I don't think I'm likely to be contradicted when I say that the most famous bridge in London is probably Tower Bridge. Although compared to the others on this list, it's a spring chicken. It was completed in 1894. But, be it ever so humble, the little Clattern Bridge reigns supreme as the oldest bridge in London. Well, I do hope you enjoyed today's video.
Can you imagine, like, the craftsmanship? Those people that built that or designed it, both. Can you imagine doing that? Like, obviously they didn't know, but if you didn't know, like, this is still going to be in use in, 1,300 years. I mean, that's just crazy, isn't it? Am I right? I'm doing the math wrong, aren't I? I'm way off. No, not 1,300. So 12. So he is saying it was towards the end of the 1,200. So I'm gonna round up to 1,300. That's right, then, isn't it? No, no, over 700 years. That's still very impressive. Um, I mean, you would have no clue that you were doing something that monumental. And even though it's just kind of like it's like, oh, okay, well, it's just a bridge, but like there's not a lot of stuff that lasts that long. I mean, there are definitely, I'm sure, buildings there. Of course, you know, World War II or World War I over there kind of messed up a lot of the structures, but to have something like that still standing that long after is just incredible. What craftsmanship! There's not stuff like, at least here, there's not stuff hardly that lasts 100 years, let alone that long. It's crazy. Sorry
Video,
about my
something a
math.
little bit different. If you did, please do leave a like and perhaps subscribe for more. Now, on this
Like,
channel, I've gone looking for London's oldest house before, and now, obviously, I've done London's oldest bridge. I feel like we've sort of got the beginning of a series here. What do you think the next London's oldest thing I should cover should be? Let me know in the comments section, and we'll see what we can do. I would like as ever to thank my donors on Ko-fi, on Patreon, and here on YouTube for your generous support.
look at that cool boat. If you didn't watch, yesterday, a video came out. I was checking out one of these canal boats. It was like 2 bedrooms. It was a little expensive. I think it was 150,000 pounds, upwards of that. I know you can get some cheaper, but just to get a look at one, I might do another one today as well. But I really enjoyed that video. Like I said, I think probably to some people they'd be like, "Oh, it's boring. It's just a bridge." But like, not to the people that spent years and years building it, or and the fact that it's lasted, like, it's incredible. Like I said, I just really enjoy history. I love learning your all's history. I think it's incredible. Hopefully, you guys enjoy watching with me. If you do, hit like, hit subscribe, share, hype the video, all that jazz. I hope you're having an incredible, incredible weekend. And yeah, until the next one, guys.